And as I have said, when you see in them His light as producing them, creating them, sustaining them, it will be easy for you to work for them according to your talents. Do something for them every day. Well, now, you can't give each one you meet $100 and last very long. That's one way. If you've got it, that's fine. But there's something you can do for God's children. Some way, according to your talents. If you can't give them money, you can do some little thing. At least you can open your mouth and say a word of encouragement. So do that. That's service. And in so doing, you will attract God's attention. Another point to remember is this: whatever you do for God and His children, do in peace. Have peace in your soul. Whatever you do, this is a very important point. To find God in service, whatever service you render, you must render it in peace. And thereby, with that peace, God can get in. If you're restless, if your mind is restless and you do not have that peace, as you do for others, you cannot give the full measure of service because God can't get in with the restless mind. He just can't. That doesn't go. But if you do, with peace and bliss and joy in your heart, that's the best medicine for the body, mind, and soul. And having a healthy body, mind, and soul, God functions naturally. And whatever service you give, according to your talents, will be of the highest, because God is in you. That's a very important point in this subject of finding God in service. How to attract His attention is to be peaceful, that you receive Him when He comes. If your mind is restless, even though your intentions are good, you cannot really help people to the fullest extent. And so whatever you do in service for God and for others, do in peace. And to the humble devotee who remembers these three things, which I have said, God's attention will be on him. You will attract God's attention, and that's what we want. That's the greatest thing. If God is with us, then we can truly serve. If He isn't with us, we can serve in a haphazard way. But when He is with you, then you can perform service, and also the greatest service, which I will come to at the end of these few words. So, to attract God's attention, serve Him first, serve His children, and what you do, serve with His bliss in your heart. Then you have God, and whatever service you do will be right and will help you on progressing toward your home in cosmic consciousness. Now we come to the law of service. The law of service is you must give. You must give, but give for a greater gain. When you give, we're selfish, of course. But that's natural. It's natural. But the law of service is you must give to receive. And you must not be afraid to give. Naturally, or sometimes naturally, that is in your consciousness because you feel, well, if I give everything away, I'll have nothing left to live on. That's right. If you look to the world, that's right. You won't have anything. They'll take it all away from you. But if you have the higher consciousness of God, you won't be left alone. Because God is the sole doer in you and everyone else. And even though you haven't a place to lay your head or a friend left, and He's with you, you have everything. And so this law of service is, we must give. It is giving is indispensable to receiving. We give for a greater gain. Now Jesus set this example. He gave His life as a ransom for many. The Master said that very thing. He says, my life, near the end when He was all gone, so to speak, from giving, He was tottering and His body was emaciated and there wasn't much left of it. He says, my life is a ransom for many. But when He said it, I could see behind that He had gained. He had gained, of course, eternal consciousness with God. And so Jesus set the example. He gave for His disciples. It was because of His giving his service, that his disciples were able to receive omniscient consciousness of God and give to others as they preached his gospel. Because Jesus gave. He gave, and because he gave, others received, his disciples received, and you and I who meditate and feel the omniscient consciousness of God, the Christ consciousness which Jesus expressed, we receive that because of his efforts to send us this channel of Christ consciousness. And of course, Jesus gave and received the greatest gain. He sacrificed his body according to worldly standards, but in so doing, he carried out God's great work, the will of God, that the Scriptures be fulfilled, and in so doing, of course, he was one with God. And so don't forget that in service we have to give, and that's the law of service, to give that you receive. And so when you help one another during the week, or give your full consciousness to God, you are giving, but you're going to gain. We are going to gain. You know your own soul will be saved if you serve God first and then serve his children. You know that. Your soul tells you that. That isn't selfishness. That's common sense to my way of thinking. Certainly, they say give unselfishly. That simply means don't give with attachment. That's all. Don't give. Now, I'll give this to you, but I hope you're going to give me something back in return. That's not it. You give unselfishly because you know that person is your brother or your sister. He's a child of God, and God is in him, so you give. Well, that consciousness, there's no attachment. What if he does give you something in return? That's fine. You both feel good. So realize this service, the law of service, is to give. Now we come to the path of service, which is the path of action. It's very important. Path of service means a path of action, not just to sit down and do nothing, but to be active in God's work.